Drop it. Drop it. That applies to every offense that you've been carrying. Drop it. That applies to every empty net that's in your life where you've been failing and carrying the failure around, of fishing all night and catching nothing, and what you did last week, and even the fight that you had before you clicked on this YouTube video. Drop that. Drop that. Sometimes we don't drop the net because we're so busy, we're so caught up in the discouragement. You know, it's really hard to drop the net when you're drowning in disappointment.
I think so often we live our life wanting to share a great story that many times we miss out on living a great story.
When you wake up in the morning, don't lie in bed and think of everything wrong with you. Instead of focusing on what's wrong with you, start focusing on what's right with you.
The point of change. What's the whole point? Why are we even talking about changes? Why do you even want to change? And just to really strip it down and make it crystal clear today, the point of change is to grow.
Too many people go through life against themselves, feeling wrong on the inside. I heard someone say, I discovered the enemy, it was me. Are you your enemy? Are you defeating yourself, limiting your dreams, sabotaging your relationships, all because you don't like you? You have enough people and circumstances against you. Don't be against yourself.
When people talk to me about the mindset, they're talking about a way of thinking. And trust me, you have a mindset right now, just like I have a mindset. It's how we view life. I know people with a negative mindset, which basically they view everything in a negative way. I know people with a positive mindset, which means they view everything in a positive way. People with an abundance mindset, a scarcity mindset. It's a way of thinking.
The point of change is to improve. The question is, are you growing? Are you getting better? Have you missed the whole point? See, some of us, the reason why we don't change, the reason why we don't grow is because we miss the whole point of it, and we try to stay the same, and we try to fight to keep everything exactly how it used to be, and we want to project a great life, but we don't actually want to focus on living an actually great life.
The question is, how did we get there? How did we get that mindset? Through practice and habits. You see, the things I do today determines the habits I have tomorrow, which determines the mindset that I have for life. So go back to what you do daily and ask yourself, what kind of a mindset am I developing today?
Stop introducing yourself to the next season of your life with the resume of your regrets from the last one. Leave that out. Leave it out.
That's why some of you right now, you don't understand, but the people you're hanging out with, it's not that they're bad people, it's that those people are not gonna help you grow. And you're missing the point. You're hanging on to old relationships that unless you release those people, you're never gonna step into all that God has for you.
The best thing you can do for your family, for your friends, is be good to you. Be kind to you. Be merciful to you. You're good to others. Why aren't you good to you? You don't criticize your friend. Why are you criticizing you? You compliment your coworker. When's the last time you complimented yourself? You admire their talent. Why don't you admire your talent? Start being good to you. That's not being selfish. That's not arrogant. That's loving yourself.
All of us are basically the same. The only difference between the haves and the have-nots are their habits. Habits are too light to be felt until they're too heavy to be broken. You need to write that down. If you change your habits, that's why you want to be in a community of collaborative, achievement-driven relationships. You want to be in a community with somebody who's been there, done that, and bought the t-shirt, who's on the level where you would like to be and go beyond. All of us are the same. I like to make it simple. All of us are the same. The only difference between you and your family members, you and your friends, are your habits.
The most important relationship you have is the relationship with yourself. Too many people don't like who they are. They focus on their faults and weaknesses. They relive their mistakes and failures. They wish they were different. If they were taller, had a better personality, looked like their cousin, they're critical toward themselves. And they wonder why they're not happy, why they don't have good relationships. It's because they don't like themselves. If you don't get along with you, you're not going to get along with other people.
What is the better life? It's the step up above the good life. There's the good life, but then there's the better life. The only problem with the good life is the good life's not good enough. You were made for far more. You were made for more than the good life. You were made for the better life. How can I live fear-free today? And why? Why can I now live fearlessly? Fear is based on ignorance. Fear is based on lies. When you know the truth, it sets you free from fears. Fears, F-E-A-R, false evidence appearing real.
Potential is like milk. If you drink it and pour it out in time, it can be provision. It does a body good if you drink it in time. But if you let it get past that date that was put on the jug, that's why some of us are miserable. Because of unlived potential that's been sitting in the jug, sitting on the shelf. I'm afraid to fail, so I won't try. And now my potential has become poisonous, and I'm miserable because I'm not living my potential. I gotta forget about the past. My potential is not back there. And straining toward what's ahead, I gotta persevere. My potential won't come to pass if I play with it. I can't strike 3 times. I gotta strain towards something. I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of God.
You may have weaknesses. You've made mistakes. We all have. But there's a lot more right with you than there is wrong with you. Dwelling on the negative doesn't help you to do better. Beating yourself up for past mistakes doesn't move you forward. The better you feel about yourself, the better you'll do. The more you like yourself, the further you'll go. You can't give away what you don't have. If you don't forgive yourself, you won't forgive others. If you don't get along with you, how can you get along with your family? The best thing you can do is start being for you. When you're kind to yourself, then you can be kind to others. It starts with you.
I think so many of us, we get so confused when it comes to change. Keep believing that, you know what? I'm gonna change, but I'm gonna start tomorrow. Isn't it funny? Yesterday you said today. Last year, remember last year? But last year you said this year. The good news is at hand. I don't know what you need to change. I'm gonna keep preaching each week. I don't know what you need to change. Lose weight. Start the job. Quit the job. Write the book, for heaven's sake. Start the business. Be content. Stop complaining. I don't know what you need to do. All I know is you need to start today.
I do show this very simple concept. It's a very simple concept. If you want it, you gotta go get it. It's time to stay focused. Why are you so antisocial? Because I'm trying to get it. Why are you staying on the basketball court so much? Because I'm trying to get it. Why are you out there practicing in the hot sun when ain't nobody else out there? Because I'm trying to get it. Why are you not clubbing? Like every time I text you and invite you to go do something fun and cool, you always studying. Because I'm trying to get it. The more weird you are is a reflection of how committed you are to focusing on your molding and shaping and ideas and your craft so that when it's time for you to make your rounds, you're gonna fly.
This suffering, this sacrifice you're making is an indicator of progress. It's an indicator of obsession. It's an indication of progress towards our dreams. The price you will pay for not making your dream come true is far greater than the one that you will pay to make it come true.
You still got work to do. Stay on that basketball court. Stay on that football field. All the homies texting and calling and trying to make you feel bad about being so focused. It's grind season, homie. It's not about today. It's about the future. You do the work now. And all of the shit that you could ever want to do for your family, your kids, your loved ones, it's all going to be on a whole nother stratosphere.
Success is like really hard, but everybody can do it. God created you to be successful. We have to make decisions along the way to get it, but you can do it. You just got to quit tripping.
You want to live your life from now on with courage. That most people take their talents, abilities, and skills to the grave with them because of lack of courage. And courage is not the lack of fear. Courage is the willingness to do what it is you need to do in spite of the fear.
We all have 24 hours. So if you have a bad day, which is no such thing of, it doesn't exist. You had a bad moment and you were so immature that you let that moment dictate the rest of your day, right? And let me tell you something. You don't know how many days you have. Like, I'm just gonna keep it 100. You don't know how many days you have left. You don't wanna be wasting days. You can't be playing with the days you have on foolishness. So you have to learn how to control yourself. You need to get control of your life. You do not have control.
The problem with success, the average person doesn't think it's for them. That's the only thing that's stopping you from being really successful. The day you decide to become rich, the process starts immediately. If you never decide to be rich, there is no process that gets started. That's how it works, man. Rich people ain't that smart. I'm telling you. They just know some of the principles of success. You just gotta learn them. It's hard, but it's for everybody.
We're not going to overcome fear and live a powerful, victorious life if we're not disciplined in our thought life. That's where the main battle is taking place. Your mind is the bullseye of the enemy's target. If he can control your thoughts, he can control your whole life. If you don't guard your mind, it will default back to these thoughts of fear, worry, anxiety, negativity.
You know why I wake up every morning excited about life? It's not because everything around me is going right. It's because I have a vision for tomorrow, and the vision creates passion and ambition and drive.
Focus on something you want to do. That's important to you, not to anybody else. That's important to you. And every day you take action steps at the beginning of the year. Why? Because it's easy to become a victim of weapons of mass distractions. To be distracted, you miss some steps. Listen to me. This is how I got here. So when you find yourself thinking negative thoughts because of the weapons of mass distractions, just say cancel that. See, we can't control the thoughts that come in our minds, but we can control the thoughts that we dwell on.
And some of you can show up when you're at home, when you go on the road, you struggle, meaning that when things are going the way you want, you cool, but when it rains, you gotta grow up. Your body does not control you. When something negative happens in your life, you giving it mad energy. When something good happens, you acting like it's supposed to happen. That's why your life messed up, because you focus on the stuff that's wrong. You're not putting the same energy on what's right.
It's when I'm disappointed, it's when I'm defeated, it's when I find myself deep down in the dirt with my expectations not being met that I can actually lift my head up and I can start to look around the surroundings and discover where the mistakes took place. I can discover where are the gaps. I can discover how on earth can I get better? How can I grow? Don't complain about it. Choose to learn from it.
Like, listen to me, like, you gotta stop playing. So most of you, what happens is, when everything is favorable, you a beast. Make sure you understand what I'm saying. When everything is favorable, meaning like whatever conditions you like, when those conditions are right, you a beast. But when the conditions ain't right, you get smacked in the face. You gotta grow up. You gotta be a morning person, afternoon person, night person. You gotta be at home person, on the road person. You gotta be when you feel good person, when you sick person, when you tired person.
I would rather aim for the stars and not hit them than to not aim at all. I would rather go after it and not get it than not go after it at all. I'd rather try and fail than not try at all. It's not strolling time. It's not walking time. It's not sightseeing time. It's running time. You gotta run after your destiny. You can't stroll after your destiny. You can't walk after your destiny. You gotta run.
That's the way the body is designed. You talk negative and your body does negative. You talk negative, you get diseases. You talk negative, mentally certain things happen. I'm not stupid. I know how to talk negative. I was homeless too. My father wasn't in my life too. I've been in struggles too. But I've come to realize that when you think optimistically and you speak positively, you can speak those things which are not as though they were. You can say certain things out your mouth and make it happen. So it's no secret. You are where you are because you focusing on stuff you ain't got no business focusing on. You can't control that.
Because success is never an accident. And if you don't want it, get out of my way. Because there are some people who want to do something with their life who will run. I'm going to go for it come hell or high water. I'm going after my destiny.
You have got to make a declaration and say, in spite of this, I'm in control here. I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm not going to let this destroy me. I'm coming back, and I'll be stronger and better because of it. You've got to be willing to go against the tide. You've got to be willing to harness your will. That this is what you stand for. You're standing up for your dreams. You're standing up for peace of mind. You're standing up for health. You want it, and you're going to go all out to have it. I'm going to turn this situation around. I'm not going to sit back and moan and cry over what happened and what went wrong and who did what. I'm going to do something about this situation.
Keep going. Like, keep going. Don't quit. You're already in pain. You're already struggling. Like, get something for your pain. It doesn't make sense to go through pain and then not get none on the other side of it. So since you're already struggling, you're already going through it, get on the other side. You're going to catch the greats. You got to get up at 3. You got to go to bed earlier. Don't lie to yourself. You are powerful, but you have some vices. The only way you're going to be successful is you got to discipline yourself.
Everything you're going through is preparing you for what you ask God for. You just got to quit tripping while you're in the process, because the process is necessary. Pull yourself together and quit tripping because you're in the process.
Sometimes your life will be in a slump. I suggest to you that if you are facing a challenge, don't stop. Stay busy. Work your plan. Continue to do those things that you know that work for you after you have evaluated yourself in the situation.
Don't give up. Don't give up. Stay in it. Stay focused.
You've given it your best shot. You've had enough. You can stand down. You can back off. You can take a knee. You can rest now. Do not listen to that instinct. Do not listen. That instinct is a liar and wants to bring you down. It wants to give you an out, a place to run to, a little place of sympathy. And that is the instinct you need to fight. You need to push back, to smash into the ground. Do not take the easy way out. Do not give up based on instinct. Get up. Go. Fight on.
Don't allow your emotions to control you. We are emotional, but you want to begin to discipline your emotion. If you don't discipline and contain your emotions, they will use you. You can decide that you're going to change, that you're not going to be a wimp. You can decide that you're going to stand up to life. You can decide that I'm going to live each day as if it were my last. You have the power to make that decision. You can decide, I'm going to work on myself and develop myself. I'm going to empower me. And all of these things that are happening to me right now, they're just temporary inconveniences. They're not stronger than I am. I'm in charge here.
Some of you have been convinced you're in a losing season right now because you feel very discombobulated on the inside. You're not so certain about certain things that are going on in your life right now. It is not a loss. In fact, it is a new level.
You can endure almost anyhow. So find out the reasons that you do what you do. Find out the reasons that will make you strong, that will make you walk by faith and not by sight, that will make you pursue your dream when everybody is against you or don't believe in you no more.
You realize that playing in the NFL was the best thing that never happened because it got me here. So my point is, look, you're going to get your ass kicked. We're going to get the shit kicked out of us. You got to get up. You got to have faith that the one thing you wanted to happen oftentimes is the best thing that never happened. So have faith. Just keep that in mind and keep plugging away. Okay, in between sets, as I'm working out, and as I often do in between sets, I slide into your comment section nice and I read your comments just so we could stay connected, and I always know what's on your mind and I can address it. So somebody just asked me a cool question, said, DJ, you're on top. Where could you possibly go from here? And you always talk about outworking your competition. Who's your competition? It's a great question. Thank you for the compliment, by the way. I'm fortunate enough to be on top, but anytime you reach the top, you always want to make sure that you have the desire to raise the bar and take the brass ring to places it's never been. That's the key with being on top. Just because it's never been done doesn't mean it can't be done. And in terms of competition, great question. Everyone's my competition, but a fundamental key that I've learned over the years is, and I'll share it with you, my number one competition is me. It's always you versus you. You got to be the one to get up every morning, be disciplined, put in the consistent daily hard work because that gains success. No coach, no trainer, no mentor, no boss can do it. You versus you.
I knew I wanted to be something, and it was important to me to be something. It was important to me that I didn't fail. But by the way, and if I did fail, at least what was also important was the lesson. And I didn't realize that until I got older, because when you're in it, you're in the grind, you don't really recognize those things when you're younger, but I could recognize it now and the importance of them now. And just in terms of the drive and the determination, a lot of it was experience too. You get your ass kicked, you get back up, and you put the gloves back on and you swing away.
All right, Saturday afternoon, empty gym, the way we like it, tripping over here. It's leg day, which means it's going to be sweaty, painful, and fun.
They say that nothing good happens in the 4 a.m. hour. Well, I can guarantee you this. It's 4:45 a.m. It's still dark outside. Look at that. The lights just went out, and I'm getting ready to kill this AM cardio.
Train twice. I'll get my cardio in and breakfast, and then I'll go hit the weights. Clanging and banging, we call it.
The masters make the hardest things in the world look easiest. And in the moments where you push yourself, when no one else is around, those moments have a tendency to lead to success.
Oftentimes when I see kids and they have been labeled, oh, they're punk kids, but there's good in them. And we got to see that potential. And I enjoy that today, seeing potential in kids just like he did, especially kids who are kind of wayward and have been going through it. I know what it's like.
Our most powerful and most important is when we just embrace who we are. It's just believing in yourself and embracing who you were born to be. Whether it's 3 o'clock in the morning, by the way, when we were talking in London, I was getting up at 3 because I had to be on set by 4. So whatever time my call time is, those are directors and our producers, whatever time my call time, so my call time is at 7, then you back your clock up 4 hours, and then that's when I get up and train twice.
Just wrap that 4 a.m. cardio. There's no substitute for hard work. I get up super early. Generally, I have this thing where I like beating the sun up, not just in terms of before the sun comes up, I have to get up. How do I do it? It's just important to find balance, and I try and do things really that I really enjoy doing. And a lot of times, it's like in life, right? Life brings like drama, and you got to deal with this person, and they funky relationship here, and all these things. Work 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day, get up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I don't know if there's a golden rule. I can tell you this, that I believe anything is possible, right? I live in the world of possibility. And I also believe that we can accomplish anything with our two hands and just putting in the work with our two hands. And also, you hear this often, but it's really, really true. You got to find something. If you love what you do and be passionate about what you do and find something that you can be passionate like, it really helps. It gives you that motivation when you wake up in the morning.
Consistently being told that whatever it is that you want to do, you've got to get after it. You got to get after it. There's no substitute for hard work. Hard work always pays. Those type of mantras over time. And those are your examples of what it's like to get beat down, what it's like to get, just in terms of the struggle, what it's like to be evicted out of your apartment, what it's like to have your car repossessed and watch your parents go through that I think is defining as a kid.
I grew up, there was a period of time where I was making a lot of mistakes, David. I was getting arrested multiple times. By the time I was 16, I was arrested maybe 7 or 8 times, fighting theft, doing a lot of things that I shouldn't have been doing. I was really lucky that I had a couple of people who, along with my parents, who saw the potential in me even when I didn't see the potential in me. And it wasn't until I got older, had a little bit of luck, a little bit of success, that I started to understand the value and the power of someone giving back.
I go back to my coach. What do I need to do to play in the NBA? The list got shorter. The next year we went all the way to the Elite Eight. We were one shot away from the Final Four, and I was the top 6 man in the country. I carved out a niche. And that's what impact players do. They make their community better. They make their city better. They make their town better. They make realtors better. Be an impact player, and anyone in your life, if they need a shark, you become their shark. All I had to do was have one good year, and I'll walk right into the NBA. My senior year, everything lines up. But the first game of my senior year, I break my foot. I come back in 6 weeks, and I break my foot a second time. In my mind, my college career was over, and my NBA dreams were dead. I averaged 7 points a game. I got offered a $75,000 job because one of our season ticket holders liked it. Right before I took the job, my daddy called me on the phone. He would always ask the right questions at the right time. He said, "You had a tough year, son. What's next?" I said, "Daddy, I'm going to be a hospital administrator, $75,000 job." He said, "Not bad, son, but can I ask you a question? Do you believe you're an NBA player?" Come on now, Dad. I only average 7 points a game, Dad. We're not like these other black families that just need basketball, Dad. We're educated, Dad. We're not dependent on basketball, Dad. We're balanced, Dad. We're educated, Dad. I got a $75,000 job, Dad. Do you believe, son? He was checking my mindset. He was checking to see, was I thinking like an A student? Or was I falling back into that C mindset? Do you believe you're an NBA player? I said, "Yeah, Dad, I do." He said, "Well, go for it, son. But Dad, I never started in college. But. My father said, "You told me, son, that you're going to turn that program around, and you did it from the bench, son. You told me you're going to graduate in 4 years, son. The average student graduates in 5. I'm proud of you. But you told me that you're going to play in the NBA. And you told me you're going to make more money in business than you did in sports. Do you believe you're an NBA ball player?" "I do, Daddy." "Go for it, son. Go for it." I go back to my coach's office, and I said, "Coach, what do I need to do to play in the NBA?" He teared up. I teared up. He said, "I'll be honest with you, son. When I recruited you, I heard you was a mama's boy. But you're not. In fact, you're one of the toughest players I've ever had. I'm a Hall of Fame motivational speaker. I go all over the world running my mouth, but he gave me the greatest compliment I've ever received. He said, "You're just like your daddy." And I was a sucker fish. But that moment was my opportunity to turn into a shark myself. If you hang around sharks long enough, it will transform your mindset. And I promise you, you will be like a shark. You will think like a shark. And you can't go backwards. And if you stop swimming, you will die. Brian Buffini, he can't go backwards. And if he stops swimming, he will die. So ladies and gentlemen, you're connected to the right shark. All you need to do is be a good sucker fish. Success is all around you. Just pay attention. Every time you leave a business meeting, consciously and subconsciously, that person keeps reaching you. Are you likable? Do you brighten up a room when you enter, or do you brighten up a room when you leave? Are you good with people? And don't you ever be a Sarah parasite, which means don't you ever come to this conference and go back home and do nothing. And then claim, "Oh, well, I tried and it didn't work." No. My college basketball coach said, "Son, I think you should be a motivational speaker." I said, "Coach, I can talk the rest of my life. What do I need to do to play in the NBA?" He said, "If you do these two things, you'll play in the NBA. You got to better shoot the three-point shot with range. And you got to lose about 15 pounds because you don't pass the eyeball test." When I talk about the eyeball test, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about me. He says the NBA thinks you're a football player trying to play basketball. You got to lose weight to change the perception. I lost 15 pounds. And I became the first ever undrafted rookie free agent in the history of the NBA to start opening night.
What is freedom of speech? It's the freedom to speak. So I read a politician today saying, "I agree with freedom of speech, but there are limits." Well, there's no freedom of speech then. Freedom of speech is the freedom to speak. If anyone's not allowed to speak, then it's not freedom of speech, it's freedom to conform to certain parameters of what are acceptable. And then what that's doing is giving power to some authority to decide what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And as we see, and we're seeing it massively now, once you give that power to an authority, it then starts interpreting what can and cannot be said in a way that squeezes and squeezes and squeezes more and more of what cannot be said. This is what political correctness is about. What is political correctness? It's simply manipulating the target population to silence itself, so those in authority don't have to. It's ridiculous. Now, people say, "Well, you say that people can say anything." Well, yes, I do, and I'll tell you why. There are laws against incitement to racism, incitement to hatred, incitement to violence. There are laws against that.
Are they laws you agree with?
Yeah, and if people use their freedom of speech to incite those things, then there are laws to deal with that, and those laws should deal with it. What I'm saying is, once you start censoring freedom of speech at the point of delivery, or even more sinister, before the point of delivery, by banning people from the right to have access to the communication networks or speak in public, that is what the fascists do. What did fascists do in Nazi Germany? What does any tyranny do? It wants to silence those that are exposing the tyranny and have a different version of events to the tyranny. So what did the Nazis do? They burnt the books. They banned the meetings of people who were exposing the Nazis. And now in this inverted world, we have people who call themselves progressives, and they seem to have this extraordinary self-delusion that progressive mentality has something to do with being liberal, when it's not. It's the opposite of liberal. They are the ones that claim to be wanting people to
be inclusive and to have diversity,
but maybe on their terms,
when they're destroying diversity, and they have become the new tyranny, they have become the new Nazis. Well, what I'm saying here is, if you look at what this progressive mentality is doing in silencing people and deciding in their arrogance what people can and cannot say and what opinion they can and cannot have, you look at what the Nazis did, you look at what the communist Soviet Union did in terms of freedom of speech, and you show me the difference between them. There is none. And it's this self-deluded arrogance which goes like this: I am right, therefore anyone who says something different must therefore be wrong, and by definition, because they are wrong and I am right, their freedom of speech to be wrong doesn't need to be taken into account.
Well, first of all, if you don't have a purpose, let's say, it isn't that your life becomes neutral in a meaningless sense. It's that your life becomes characterized by unbearable suffering, because the baseline condition of life is something like unbearable suffering. And what you have to set against that is a noble and worthwhile purpose. And hopefully your determination of that purpose is buttressed to some degree by the wisdom of the past, because you can't conjure something like that up on your own. And if you provide people with nobility of purpose, then they can tolerate the suffering of existence without becoming entirely corrupted by it. And cultures that don't do that, it isn't even so much that they die, it's that cultures that don't do that are dead. They're done. They don't have a story anymore. They don't have a call to adventure. And then, well, then everyone suffers stupidly as a consequence. It's a very bad thing. So Churchill made the same observation that many of the great psychologists and philosophers made in the early part of the 20th century. So bring the story forward and propagate it and make it the most noble possible story. And then you motivate people to transcend themselves, which they need to do. So yes, he's exactly right in his diagnosis. People think of freedom as the ability to implement your whim. And freedom opens up that as a possibility. But sustainable freedom, that isn't what it's about at all. It's primarily about responsibility. It's about determining which load you're going to pick up and carry. That's the proper definition of appropriate freedom. It's not dim gratification of instantaneous impulse. It's self-evident that that doesn't work. 2-year-olds do that. And that's why they can't live in the world. They can't organize themselves across time. They can't sacrifice the moment for the future. And the more sophisticated you get, I suppose, in some sense, the more you're able to do that. And then your freedom becomes the freedom to choose the proper responsibility. And that's also not something that we've been good at communicating to young people. If we talk to them about responsibility, we generally do it in a finger-wagging sort of way. It's like, well, you're breaking the rules, you're a bad person. And well, that may be true because people break the rules and there's no shortage of badness in people. But the proper message for young people is to say, well, no, you don't understand. You want to take on responsibility. You want to take on the heaviest load that you can conceive of, that you might be able to move, because it gives your life nobility and purpose. And that offsets the tragedy. And not only psychologically, not only does it offset psychologically because you have a purpose and something to wake up for, right, and to face the difficulties of the day, but also because if you face the difficulties of the day properly, you actually ameliorate suffering, not only in the psychological sense, but because you make the world at least a less terrible place. And that's something, right? To move things away from hell is something, even if you're not, self-evidently moving forthrightly to heaven. To move things away from the worst they can be is, well, that's a noble goal in and of itself.
See, people are always talking about freedom, but they're always thinking how to bind themselves to something or somebody. If you're really lost in your life, you're absolutely free, isn't it? Hello? No? Freedom is a territory which needs a lot of maturing and culturing to handle. Otherwise, people doing compulsive things, they're thinking they're free. These are compulsive things. Somebody is drinking, if you say, why don't you not drink today, you can do it tomorrow. Why don't I have the freedom to drink? No, it's compulsive. If you're calling your compulsiveness as freedom, it's very unfortunate. You lost all your freedom in compulsiveness. So freedom is that kind of a territory where you have to culture yourself, mature yourself to exist free. Everybody, I think at some point, we provide these opportunities for young people to come and just be by yourself. No compulsive talking, no phone, no drink, no nothing, simple. You eat what you want for nourishment and then simply be. Everybody must spend at least a little bit of time like this, because only then you understand how compulsive you are. Unfortunately, we are translating compulsiveness as some kind of a goal in our life or freedom in our life. No. See, if you want to get somewhere in your life, get somewhere does not mean be better than somebody, do this, earn this, that, no. As a life, your experience of life should become a fantastic experience. So right now, all the crazy things that people are doing in their life, why? They drink, sexuality, temple, this, meditation, whatever they're doing. Why are they doing? Because they want their experience of life to become pleasant. Yes or no? Somebody hits the bottle, somebody hits somebody else, and somebody does something else, but essentially looking for pleasantness. If your body becomes pleasant, we call this health. I'm talking yoga now to you, officially. If your body becomes pleasant, we call this health. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it pleasure. If your mind becomes pleasant, we call this peace. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it joy. If your emotions become pleasant, we call it love. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it compassion. If your very life energies become pleasant, we call this blissfulness. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it ecstasy. If your surroundings become pleasant, we call this success. Only for this last one, to make our surroundings pleasant, we need the cooperation of many forces around us. Many things have to fall into place. But to keep your body pleasant, mind pleasant, emotion pleasant, your life energies pleasant, it's 100% your business, not good for the business.
Hi, welcome back to Mind Control, where we inspire and motivate you. Hope you enjoy the video.
Now here's the phrase that goes with it. Wages make you a living, which is fine. Profits make you a fortune, which is super fine. And you can live both fine and super fine. You've now got the mechanism and the ways and means to do that. Profits are better than wages. Guess what? I taught this in Moscow when I was teaching capitalism. You know, the communists had it all wrong. They taught that capitalism was, a big company that oppresses its workers. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. They had mentally lost it when they came up with this ridiculous philosophy. Communism taught capital belongs to the state, not the people. And we taught all these years what? Capital belongs in the hands of the people, not the state. That's why, of course, kids should pay taxes, because they can be capitalists, and all capitalists should pay taxes. And it doesn't take much to start an enterprise that makes a profit. I teach kids how to have 2 bicycles, one to ride and one to rent. I mean, how long does it take? How long does it take to make a profit? I mean, a little ingenuity and you're on your way. So profits are better than wages. Capitalism better than communism. Communism said people are too dumb and stupid to know what to do with capital. So you must take capital away from all the dumb, stupid people and give it to the all-wise, all-knowing state. And let the state run everything. I mean, that was communism. And they devastated every country they touched. I've been to East Germany. It's taking $1 trillion just to clean up East Germany. They've already spent $500 billion, they got $500 billion more to go. I mean, every country they touched, and I've been in all of them, they devastated them all with their devastating philosophy. We teach capital belongs in the hands of the people. That's where the ingenuity is to bring goods and services to the marketplace. But once I understood this now, it was so incredible. Profits are better than wages. Now, when I first was recruited, I'm a distributor for this little product called Abunda Vita. And here's what my mentor said, Mr. Show. He said, Mr. Owen, you can start this miracle working business part-time. You don't have to go full-time, you can start part-time. And he said, if you'll devote, to start with, let's say 10, 12, 15 hours a week, where you'll start making a profit, here's what you can now say. I'm working full-time on my job and part-time on my fortune. Because profits lead to fortune. I got so excited about that philosophy. I'm working full-time on my job, but now I'm working part-time on my fortune. I found a way not only to make a living, you won't believe this, I found a way to make fortune. Can you imagine what that's like then to get up in the morning? To go to work on your fortune? Not to go to work to pay the rent, which is okay, but a chance to go to work to make a fortune? And I said, right now I'm working part-time on my fortune and full-time on my job, but it won't be long until I'll be working full-time on my fortune. Can you imagine what life is going to be like? Now, here was my first goal when I started, and that was part-time. I wanted to equal on my profits part-time what I was earning on my full-time job. This is called the magic of part-time. It is so thrilling for people to start working the business part-time, because now you can work on profits, and it doesn't take very long. If you'll really concentrate on those 10, 12, 15 hours a week, it won't be long if you really do it right and learn some of the skills I'm going to talk about. It won't be long until you can be earning as much part-time working on your fortune as you are full-time working on your job. I did that in less than 6 months. Now I've got an incredible invitation. I found a way part-time to work on my fortune, and I'm making as much money at that as I am on my full-time job. Would you like to hear my story? It was incredible. Now here was my second goal, to make twice as much money part-time working on my fortune as I was working full-time on my job. And I reached that in less than a year. Making twice as much money part-time working on my fortune as I was full-time working on my job. Now I've got an incredible invitation that won't quit. I found a way, through a unique opportunity, to work part-time on my fortune, and I'm now earning twice as much money as I am working full-time on my job. Would you like to hear my story? Do you imagine anybody would say, no, I don't care to hear your story? No. Everybody I said that to said, wow, yes, what are you doing? I said, I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you. Now, when I started making twice as much money part-time as full-time, here's my dilemma. I didn't want to go full-time. And why not go full-time? And the reason was because I didn't want to give up my electrifying story. It was so powerful, nobody could resist the invitation to at least take a look. I didn't want to give it up. And I hung on for I don't know how long until it was, almost insane. And then finally, reluctantly, I gave up my full-time job. But now you can imagine the thrill and excitement of going to work full-time on my fortune. That was incredible. Here's the next one. Philosophy that helped change my life. It's not what happens that determines your life future. It's not what happens that determines your life future. It's what you do about what happens. All of us are in like a little sailboat. And it's not the blowing of the wind that determines your destination. It's the set of the sail. So jot this phrase down. It's one of the best to understand. Kids need to understand it. The same wind blows on us all. The wind of disaster, the wind of opportunity, the wind of change. The wind when it's upside down, the wind when it's favorable and unfavorable. The same wind blows on us all. The economic wind, the social wind, the political wind. The same wind blows on everybody. The difference in where you arrive in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, the difference in arrival is not the blowing of the wind, but the set of the sail. And that's what learning is all about, to set a better sail this year than last year. To set a better sail. The first 6 years of my economic life, I wound up broke. Second 6 years, I wound up rich. You say, well, the Democrats must have finally gotten power. No. No. It was not a political change. Here's what changed the second 6 years of my economic life. It was my philosophy that changed. The set of the sail of better thinking, correcting the errors of the past and picking up new disciplines for the future. That's all I had to do at the end of the first 6. Correct the errors of the past and then pick up some new disciplines for the future. And my total life changed. The second 6 years was totally different than the first 6 of my working life. And guess who can do that? Anybody. Now you can keep on the same path for the next couple of years as you have the past 2. But if you wish to, and maybe everything's okay for you and you don't need to, but if you need to make some changes, I'm telling you, you can start doing it today so that the next 2 years will be drastically different than the last 2. And anybody who wishes to do that can. And you can do it between ages 40 and 43. You can do it between ages 13 and 50. You can do it between ages 60 and 62. Any 2 years, any 5 years that you wish to drastically change from the previous 5, you can do it. If you wish to. Now, this isn't written. This is not a law. Here's what it's called, opportunity. If you don't know you can drastically change your income, change your future, change your health, change your marriage, change everything. If you don't know that, some people then go year after year after year after year not making much change simply because they didn't get to the class. They never read the book. They never went to the seminar. They never made the discovery. They didn't seek for the knowledge of how could I make my life better. And if you just rock along, I'm telling you it's okay. Anybody can live any way they choose, but I'm here to tell all of you that if you wish to, it's possible to make the next 3 years totally different than the last 3. And all you have to do is just a few things. So if you got that one now, it's not the blowing of the wind that determines your income. It's not the blowing of the wind that determines your fortune. It's the set of the sail. And that's why we gathered here today. Maybe I've got some ideas that'll help you with a couple of little things about setting the sail of your thinking that might drastically give you multiplied more benefit the next 3 years than you've gotten in the last 2. So it's not what happens. What happens happens to everybody. Here's how the last 6,000 years reads. If you want to make a note of Jim Rohn's vision of history the last 6,000 years, here's how it reads. Opportunity mixed with difficulty. It's going to read like that, looks like, for the next 6,000 years. Opportunity mixed with difficulty. Now, sometimes there seems to be more opportunity than difficulty, and then sometimes there seems to be more difficulty than opportunity, but the mix isn't going to change. After expansion comes recession. But after recession comes expansion. Not to think so, see, is naive. And once you've got just a little of this stuff settled, then you know exactly what to do. You know exactly what to anticipate so you can be ready.
We'd like to thank you so much for watching till the end. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Please also like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and families. Please watch our other motivational videos. Thank you again.